Daniel Quare is a celebrated English clockmaker, and he is thought originally to be from Somerset. Quare was admitted to the Clockmakers' Company on the 3rd of April 1671 for a payment of £2 with an extra 20 shillings on account as a great clockmaker. That's a tower clockmaker. By chance, 5 months later the same year, on the 4th of September 1671, Thomas Tompion also joined the Clockmakers' Company with a payment of 30 shillings. The Clockmakers' Company appears to have had no fixed fees, but charged new members by what they thought the new member could afford to pay. They were both destined to become masters, Tompion in 1703 and Quare in 1708. Quare is celebrated by inventing a repeating watch mechanism in 1680 that sounded the nearest hour and quarter hour, but he did not apply for a patent. The Reverend Edward Barlow also designed a repeating watch mechanism and did apply for a patent. This was vigorously resisted by the Worshipful Company of Clockmakers, who petitioned King James II. His Majesty tried examples of both the systems and preferred Quare's, as it only required one push on a button for the quarters and the hours, rather than the twin buttons for the Barlow, with his application for patent was then denied. Quare also patented a portable barometer in 1695, which he claimed could be turned upside down without losing any quicksilver. The imagination boggles at another of his inventions, a home burglar alarm. He described it as preventing thieves breaking in and surprising the inhabitants. Quare, along with 19 other Quakers, signed a petition that was presented to the Commons by Edmund Waller and was passed in February 1696. The petition requested that Quakers be permitted to affirm rather than take oaths, and in March 1696 the Quaker Affirmation Bill passed all its stages in the Commons. He was offered the position of clockmaker to George I, but as a Quaker he refused, as he was unable to sign the oath of allegiance to the king. This problem was got round by him entering the palace by the back door and being helped on his way by the yeomen of the guard. And after 1709, Quare went into partnership with his former apprentice, Stephen Horseman, who carried on the business after Quare's death until Horseman went bankrupt in 1733. This clock's movement was made in Thomas Tompion's workshop. It has a pair of pull quarter repeat cords, one on each side, to operate the rack and snail quarter repeat mechanism, and exemplifies the quality of Tompion's miniature pattern spring clocks. While Tompion made the vast majority of movements that he signed, this is the 4th of 7 known Tompion quality movements signed by Quare. By way of contrast, movements designed and made in the Quare workshop are often described as a mere fit for purpose. Yet the design of the dial, the case and the bracket have their own distinctive marks to show Quare's quality conceptions. Quare had his hand in all aspects of his business. He was not only a clockmaker, but also a buyer and retailer of clocks to many of the royal houses throughout Europe. His association with aristocratic personages is also confirmed by the register from his wedding of his daughter Elizabeth, who married Sylvanus Bevan in November 1715. The wedding list is signed by Sarah, the Duchess of Marlborough, and 72 other similar European titled personages. Is signed by Sarah Marlborough and 72 other similar European titled personages. After his death in 1724, he was buried in the Quaker's burial ground in Burnfield Fields. So we've got the lovely breakarch dial, the arch here, with the calendar in, with a lovely little hand here pointing to 25th day. And there should be a pointer on here, but of course it's on the movement because this is the regulation dial. And then on the other side you've got the silent and the strike, so that it switches itself off at night, so you can turn it on to silent. The chapter ring is very conventional, lovely false pendulum aperture here, and the engraving there of Dan Quare, London. Lovely spandrels all the way around. It's just a beautiful dial, and the sound frets at the side here to let the bell sound out, with the matching frets in the front door here to the silver mount for the glass, little silver escutcheon and little silver feet. So it's just a beautiful looking clock. The red tortoiseshell setting off the gold of the dial and the spandrels, and the silver on the hinges and on the feet, and of course a silver handle up on the top. And the whole of the design of the dial and so on is from Quare. The lovely case itself, the lovely tortoiseshell, the attractive silver handle, silver feet, and yet the movement inside is a quality movement made by Tompion and retailed by Quare. The backplate of this Quare clock shows the care that Tompion went to in making up his clocks. All these cocks are the most beautiful curly shape. They're not just planted on, they've got a shape in their own right, and the engraving on the back here is to the highest possible quality. And yet, if you think of it, when it's in its case on the bracket here, it would never be seen by a visitor, and it would only really ever be seen if the clock is taken down off the bracket and the back door is opened. So all this beautiful work is hardly seen by anybody apart from the proud owner. On the side is the twin levers with a pull cord on each side, and they're geared together in the middle here, so that if you pull one, then the other one will move as well. So if I pull this side, you'll see the two levers move, and then when you let it go, it engages the repeat mechanism. "4:15. And here you can see the pivot regulation with a small pinion in here against the rack, which then moves up, and it's pivoted over here so that the leverage is reduced, and it's still very difficult to get it exactly to time because a very small movement here pulls the suspension spring up and down through the little clutch here and lengthens the active movement of the pendulum below the fixing point here. But it's quite difficult because it's quite a coarse rack, and a very small movement onto the dial produces a measurable movement here. And really, when you're setting a clock like this to time, you're talking of tenths of a millimetre of movement that's necessary. And in the centre of this backplate, you've got the engraving Dan Quare, London, and underneath the pendulum steady, there's Quare's number 47. So he obviously made a habit of making clocks like this, of which I think there's 7 made by Tompion for Quare, which have come down to us. Beautiful little clock, wonderful presentation, and inside a lovely Tompion movement.